Some people look at Sonny Hayes. They see a guy who lives in a van, a gambling junkie who missed his shot, the best that never was. But I see possibility.
And if you don't love me now, we'll never.
My Rook is a phenomenal talent, but he's young.
Never break chain.
You plus him, boom, I got a team.
I can still.
When was the last time you won a race?
Sunday, Daytona.
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant Formula One.
Oh, I'm sorry. Then same as you.
There's this new guy. He's old. He's such a prick. He's quick though.
If you had any constructive criticism for each other, what would it be?
Don't be such an ass.
dickhead. That was constructive.
Wow.
Did you win something? There's 20 other drivers still out on that track. Do you think any of them respect us?
They're saying Sonny Hayes isn't a has-been. He's a never was.
If the last thing I do is drive that car, I will take that life, man. 1,000 times.
I'm offering you an open seat in Formula One. The only place you could say, if you win, you are the absolute best in the world.
Never break chain.
Sim racers, welcome to the eRacing Association, where you have the chance to win $5,000 in one of the best tournaments in all of sim racing. Green flag in the air.
Are you ready to reach the next level of sim racing? The eRacing Association's epic Omega Cup Series lets you win big. Racing with ERA lets you compete for huge cash prizes, get exclusive merch, exclusive sim hardware pricing, and potentially turn your virtual dreams into reality. Feel the rush as you race door to door against sim racers just like yourself, all from the comfort of your own home.
Straight away, they're an idiot. Oh, they're wrecking! They're wrecking!
Join now to get your membership and experience all of the excitement that the eRacing Association has to offer at www.eragaming.gg.
Celebration, he hangs on.
My driving style, it's always been aggressive. I think it's gone from being all out, all risk. Now it's a marathon, not a sprint.
A new year, a new era, a new season. Welcome to the all-new F1 25.
Now there was a time.
It's a great start for Hamilton.
Awesome.
What a race this has been for Mayer.
Still we rise, guys.
The rookie's showing the champ what he's made of here.
Kid is quick.
That was fun. I catch it.
She's going for it. Oh no! Her race is over!
Remember, we don't beat Red Bull by copying them.
Focus on the bigger picture.
Into the pits they come. And they come out with a pit entry.
Yes, guys.
This is a game changer.
This is amazing. I'm on it.
Jackson's making a move on Piastri. Hamilton goes the other way. This is going to be so close. Side by side to the line. He's done it.
Let's go.
And Hamilton wins.
If you think you know how your story ends, think again.
Oh, and who's this?
Pre-order F125 now.
All drivers to your cars! The MX-5 Cup is the absolute pinnacle of action at the racetrack.
We are starting a new era of racing.
We gotta show the boys what's up.
I'm not just driving to be the best girl driver. I'm racing to win.
It's the ultimate challenge.
The first 6 years of my career, I was the only woman.
It's a lot of pressure, but when the helmet goes on, nothing else matters.
Being a team owner, I manage everything. I'm not your mom, I'm your boss.
I have to fight every instinct from fear.
Oh my God!
It's consumed my life.
I haven't slept in 5 years.
I'm capable of winning. It's not like these guys are Superman.
Turns out we know what we're doing.
You need to do anything that it takes.
Oh my God! It's exhausting for all the right reasons.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Doug. I'm the founder of FUBAR Studios Veteran Reinforcement. We would appreciate your consideration during the NASCAR Give-a-Thon to donating to FUBAR Studios Veteran Reinforcement by supporting our mission to be able to keep continuing hosting events like Track Day for Veterans, where we're facilitating veterans, involving them into the races and interacting with the race teams. We are providing a therapeutic environment for these veterans that are struggling with PTSD and TBIs. So thank you.
And I think Tony Stewart respects the fact that he knows that Justin Ashley's right alongside. We know what happened to Doug Coletta the last time somebody was next to Justin Ashley.
They pile off into the afternoon. Ashley's got cylinders out. Explosion for Salinas. Explosion for Brown. It's Tony Stewart. Stewart wins in a totally chaotic final. 387 to 317. He's broken through. Tony Stewart's passion for the sport of NHRA drag racing is something that is truly undeniable. At this track, about a year and a half ago, or 2 years ago, you got your first wally behind the wheel of an alcohol dragster. It's almost fitting that the big one comes today here in Vegas. Tony, the struggles you've had, over the last year and a half, have almost made this even sweeter. What's the emotion you're feeling right now?
I think you sure as hell learn to appreciate it more when you struggle like that. But, man, I'm so appreciative of our guys. And like I said, we got Kevin Rudine and his family here. Race, you did this one for us today, buddy. This is all you. But it's the highest of highs and lowest of lows. Our Rush Truck Center's family, Rusty Rush, we lost his wife, Jenny, this week. And then literally 15 minutes before we rolled out for the final here, I got a message from Bakersfield, California, from a friend of mine, Brian Landgraf, and we just lost his father. So, I heard Dallas Glenn talking about it too. We've lost a lot of people this week, and it's been tough, but my God, I am so proud of our guys. Dodge, Direct Connection, Race Routine Foundation, Renai, everybody at Mobile One. Jay, thank you so much. Just so many great partners here. I got a great teammate standing there. I have a feeling I'm going to be really hurting in the morning here, but it's going to sure as hell be worth it.
Congratulations, Tony.
Thank you.
Drivers, start your
Good evening, race fans. Welcome to Drafting the Circuits, brought to you by Sinister One Productions. My name is Frank Santorowski. I'll be your host for the next hour as we talk over a big weekend of racing this past week. Joining me, my good friends Levi and Richard Uden. What's up, fellas?
What's up? How's it
going? Lee, you're looking very sharp this evening.
Thank you.
Beard all trimmed up. You look very nice, very professional. I'm sure the chicks will dig that. All right. So first off, let's
appreciate it. Yeah. Oh, thanks. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, Lee looks great. Yeah.
Lee looks great. Yeah, you look relaxed.
Yeah. Thank you.
Relaxed in your hoodie. All right, let's thank some sponsors here. Warner Brothers with the Formula One movie coming out this summer. The eRacing Association, which is run in part by Jesse Iwuji, who was our guest last week. I want to thank Jesse for coming on last week, and thank you folks that watched the show. EA Sports, Formula One, Mazda's First to the Finish area on Amazon. You can currently stream that, and we will have the star of that show, Heather Hadley, will be on this program in 1 week's time. She'll join us, talk about the Mazda MX-5 Cup and making this fine program. But you can tune into Amazon and watch that First to the Finish. Also, I want to thank Track Day for Veterans, Give-a-Thon. And let's get into this week's racing. I want to start off with the Grand Prix of Long Beach, celebrating its 50th anniversary. Long Beach Grand Prix is the longest running street race in all of North America. And I did not tell you guys this because I didn't want you to cheat, but I have prepared a little quiz for you to test your knowledge of the history of the Long Beach Grand Prix.
I'm ready to fail. This is going to be bad.
So be bad. Question one, the inaugural Grand Prix of Long Beach was run in 1975. What type of cars did they run?
It's Formula One car, wasn't it?
What did you say, Formula One?
Yeah.
Nope.
Okay.
I went Mustangs, Ford Mustangs?
Nope.
I have no idea.
Nope. The answer is they ran SCCA Formula 5000.
Oh, that was my next guess. God damn it.
They ran that race to show Formula One that they could put on a decent event. Brian Redmond won the race. They attracted 46,000 spectators, which at the time for a brand new event was quite respectable. By comparison, this past weekend they had 200,000 over the weekend attendance. So my next question is, why is the 1977 Grand Prix of Long Beach such a significant event in motorsports history?
It happened not in Long Beach, but in LA.
No, it was in Long Beach.
Darn it. 0 for 2 tonight. Richard?
I don't know.
Maybe
this is the race that changed Long Beach to a event that looked like it was going to fail a few years to solidly in the racing mind of the world. The results of this race made coast to coast headlines everywhere from Sports Illustrated to Time Magazine.
The first open wheel race? I don't know.
1977. Win a Formula One race on American soil.
Oh.
Okay, that makes sense.
Cool.
Yeah.
Formula One
and
driver.
that cemented the event as viable, and it's been going ever since. First American Formula One driver to win a race in America.
Cool.
And still only All right, so
That was fun, wasn't it, Lee? Cool. Carry on.
here's an easy one. I'll throw you a softball here. Who holds the record for the most wins at Long Beach?
Dixon. I don't know. No, it's not. No, it's not Dixon. It's got to be like
go
Andretti.
Go back a little bit.
Probably Andretti.
Who was the guy with Andretti when they said, "Gentlemen, start your engines"? Guy had a serious drinking problem and wrote a book about it.
The cable guy?
No.
Dave.
Famous racing family.
Graham Rahal.
AJ Foyt. I mean,
two-time Indy 500 winner, and his dad and his uncle are both Indy 500 winners.
Michael Andretti.
No.
I said AJ Foyt, but that's not right either. So, God, you should have definitely told us we had a quiz tonight. This is terrible.
Last name starts with a U.
Balance Jr.
Yes. All right, this will be the last one.
Oh, is this another meatball?
Because you guys are terrible. Well, this is there have been well, I'll tell you what. I got two more. Okay, in 1983 was the last Formula One race held. They switched to the kart series in '84. Okay, so who won the last Formula One race there, and who won the first IndyCar race?
Last Formula One race, '83. Prost.
Nope.
Lauda
won there in '82.
Rosberg.
This guy was Lauda's teammate for a while.
Regazzoni. Hunt. No.
It was a McLaren. He was in a McLaren.
Oh.
Lauda's teammate in a McLaren.
Before they signed Prost.
Oh, was that no John Watson?
Yes, John Watson.
There we go.
Hey,
there we go. Wasn't that the one where he qualified last and won the race?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. He won from the last spot on the grid. And so who won the first? Who won the first IndyCar race there?
I don't care.
Very famous. Very famous guy. He was the other guy with Al Unser Jr. saying, "Gentlemen, start your engines."
Alan Senior.
No, he's dead.
Oh, what?
This guy's old but still living. He's involved with the Cadillac Formula One program that's coming up.
Oh,
yes, Andretti.
Yeah.
Mario Andretti. Yeah,
Mario.
Yeah.
Well, hey, listen, I got half.
Not Michael, obviously, is it?
No.
All right, seven drivers have won their first major race at Long Beach. How many can you name?
0.
Okay, one of them.
Come again. What was the question?
Got their first victories at Long Beach.
First major series victory at Long Beach.
IndyCar.
7 guys.
Sato.
Well, there's Sato. Yep, Sato's one.
Yeah.
There's 1 Formula One and 6 IndyCar.
Watson was the Formula One guy, wasn't it? Because that was his first. Was that his first win?
No, it wasn't.
Oh, okay.
This guy was a three-time champion.
Of Long Beach or of?
No, 3-time Formula One world champion from Brazil. Won in 1980 was his first race win. Driving a Brabham. PK, right.
Yep.
All right. So we got Sato, we got PK.
First win.
One of the guys won this past Sunday.
Yeah,
Kirkwood. Yeah.
Yep.
His first win was at Long Beach in 2023. And the other guy owns Kirkwood's car.
Michael Andretti.
Michael Andretti, right.
Yep.
Okay.
All
right. Guy you love to hate.
Connor Daly.
No.
Dixon.
Connor Daly's still looking for a first win. He was on IndyCar broadcast team for a while. Loud, boisterous.
Oh, Paul Tracy.
Paul Tracy, yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes. All right. Here's a guy who's won races in all 3 major race series. He's won races in Formula One, NASCAR, and IndyCars.
Montoya.
Montoya, right.
Montoya.
One more. British guy.
No. It was one Montoya, not one more. One Montoya.
Juan Pablo Montoya.
And another guy was a British driver.
British guy who doesn't have a lot of wins, but he seemed to just pull them out of thin air when he did win races. Great road racer, hated ovals. He's won Long Beach twice.
God.
Once for Michael Andretti and once for Ed Carpenter.
Oh, Chilton.
No.
Can I get his first name and his last name? Clues.
His first name is Mike
Conway.
There you go. All right,
That'll be my guess.
I'll stop torturing you guys. So anyway, so let's talk about the race. Lee, you got
not torturing us; it's torturing the people that listen.
The people that listening are gaining valuable knowledge.
Lee does not know anything about Indy at all.
That's right.
That's okay.
You can quiz me on NHRA, and I will look as clueless as you. So, all right, so let's talk about the race. So, it seems to me that we had the same kind of issues with the Firestone alternates that we had in St. Pete, where the alternates just had no staying power at all. We had guys as early as lap 3 and 4 getting off the alternates and onto the blacks, which kind of jumbled up the field for a bit. But interestingly enough, we did go caution free the whole race. So there was, very little opportunity to, kind of get the field bunch and try to make up some ground. So it was all very much a strategy race, but it was Kyle Kirkwood who played it perfectly, qualified first, won from the pole. As things cycle back to the lead. He got the overcut on Palou, and he essentially out-Palou'd Palou. Yeah. He played Palou's game and beat him at it. Palou coming home second. Palou still has a very healthy lead in the points. He's got 2 firsts and a second on the season. Can't shake a stick at that, but puts Kirkwood up to second in the points. And great momentum. The whole Andretti team looks really good at Long Beach, and they have traditionally looked really good on the tight street road courses. So if you recall, Kirkwood won Long Beach 2 years ago. Then his other race win was at Nashville, I believe. If I'm not, well, maybe not. But it was a street race. Either way. So what did you think about it, Lee? You watched the whole race?
Yeah, I didn't watch the highlights. I legitimately sat there and watched start to finish. It was a good race. Kirkwood, he just was up front pretty much all day. And if he wasn't up front, it was because he was cycling back from his pit stop. I thought some of the drivers that took the tires like on lap 2 and 3, that was because I thought it was good because there was so many problems with the softer tires that to get them out of the way, they just made that command decision to do it right off the get go, which I thought was pretty good.
Yeah, I've got my stint. My green's done. So
yep. Start the race with them, get 2 laps. Come in, change them, put fuel on it, and then you're kind of out of cycle at least. You're 2 above the rest of the cycle for the drivers, which I thought played well into some drivers' hands, and some it didn't work. But Kirkwood, from pretty much start to finish, it was his race. Palou did give him a couple chances to try to fight for the lead, but in the end, it was 2 seconds between him and Palou. So it wasn't clearly it wasn't like an all-out.
It wasn't a dominating win, but it was a
right.
win
It wasn't
nonetheless.
dominating, but it was still good.
It was a well-earned win because he snookered Palou on both his strategy and was able to keep him behind. And he preserved his push to pass to where he had it when he needed it most.
And that was the thing. I mean, like, Palou didn't have. I think Kirkwood had like 15 seconds left or something like that, and Palou had nothing.
He burned all his up.
Burned it all off. So I think that and I thought that was a good strategy. I mean, Kirkwood went half the race with barely using like maybe 15, 20 seconds of his push to pass because he was out front and he could just stay there and he wasn't really being challenged. So he didn't really have a chance. He didn't need it.
Yeah, and the typical mistakes we see from Andretti as a team, which are generally happen in the pits. He was pretty free of any kind of pit stall drama or anything. So really good day for that young man. And 2-time Long Beach winner, 3rd race win overall. So second in the championship. Good way to go into the month of May. We got Barber coming up in a couple weeks, then we're off to Indianapolis for the remainder of the month, and that's that's where you want to be, up in the points with the race win under your belt. So, one thing I found interesting was this thing with Joseph Newgarden with the belts that evidently came undone.
Yep.
And the fact that Joseph stayed out there, I find concerning. If you recall, when this happened with Will Power in Milwaukee, he was right into the pits. And you would think that a place like Long Beach, you're getting tossed around a little more in the car than you are in Milwaukee, where you're just on the oval. Although Milwaukee is more sustained high speed. I don't know why Newgarden would not choose to come in the pits and get that fixed. It seems like a serious safety issue to me that he didn't.
Yeah.
So,
it looked like he came in for that scheduled stop, and the way it looked to me, and he signaled to one of the crew members that he was having a belt problem, and the crew member reached in to try to, evaluate what was going on, and kicked him back out, and and then he just whoop right back in, and that's when he took the time to, when they had to sit there for a couple seconds, and try to get him strapped back in. So maybe the team just didn't realize how bad of a situation it was. It looked to me like, because he's got the 6-point with the buckle in the middle. It looked, maybe they thought like, a shoulder belt loose, and that's an easy fix. You just yank on it. But it seemed to me like the whole buckle.
That's what Newgarden said after the race.
Yeah,
the
like
whole buckle had come undone. Yeah.
And maybe the team just didn't realize it, how bad it really was. And maybe Newgarden didn't realize how bad it was either. I don't know.
But sure slowed him down a lot, though.
Oh, it did. Yeah.
I mean, so when he's really wrecked his day, and he was having a reasonably good season. He had a 3rd place under his belt from St. Pete. So, and this, 27th, I think, he's got on there as well. And then, so, I mean, otherwise, who do you think looked good? I thought, I think
Stingray Rob was, he led 9 laps or 12 laps.
Yeah, he did.
They were legit laps. They happened on cycles, but he was up front for 12 laps, and then he finishes in top 10.
Yeah.
So
that's his best career finish. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't, and I don't think it was really like a stroke of, I don't want to downplay it. I don't think it was a stroke of luck. I mean, he had a decent day. He was competitive, I thought, all day. His pit stops were great. He didn't really, no miscommunications on pit road. His team looked good on the pits. I thought, dark horse wise, he had a pretty decent day. So maybe the team's starting to gel and come together like they thought they would. I know it's only like 3 races in, but Yeah, I mean, to lead 12 laps and come in with a top 10 finish for a guy who's only been in the series 4 years is pretty darn good.
Yeah,
in my eyes.
and he's been with a different team every year he's been
Yep.
in.
Yep.
You know,
and he
so
hasn't
he's
even really like had a full run part-time for like the first 2 seasons, and he kind of ran sort of full-time last year. So yeah, I mean, I think he was a dark horse that had a pretty decent day. Anxious to see what happens at Barber and then at Indy.
Yeah, I thought Lundgaard looked really good in the McLaren.
Yep.
You know, their strategy didn't pan out like they would have liked, but I thought he looked really good. I thought the Carpenter cars, Rossi and Rasmussen, are so much improved over where that team was at last year. I mean, they're still not up there contending for the win, but they look a lot more organized, and you know, they just seem to be operating better as a team. And you know, I'm sure some of that has to do with Rossi coming in as a very experienced guy, and what he lends to the team and the feedback he gives to the engineers is helping them out. So they're looking better. I think by the end of the season, when we get to that summer stretch, you know, I think you may see Rossi contending for some wins there.
Yeah.
Or you may even see, you know, Rasmussen snatch a podium somewhere. So,
yep.
But the other IndyCar news is that there have been a lot of calls for independent officiating, because evidently some drivers and teams are not happy with the way IndyCar does their officiating. And I mean, big surprise, you know, drivers and teams don't like race officiating, but they made a call for, hey, why don't we try to get some independent officiating in here? And IndyCar just kind of dismissed that.
Yeah.
I mean, if you recall, they tried that in the early IRL when IRL was sanctioning, but USAC was doing the officiating, and they did not see eye to eye, and eventually they ended up kicking USAC to the curb and self-officiating. So, but yeah, I think that's story's now dead in the water. IndyCar says, yeah, nice idea, but no thanks. So we've got a week off, and then we're heading to Barber. In other news, the NHRA was in Las Vegas.
They worked for the first 4 wides of the season.
Go ahead, Lee. It's all you, buddy.
Obviously, the major news coming out of Vegas is there was a driver that has won at every track, Las Vegas Speedway Complex. And I think that's 5. There's 4 tracks there, 5 tracks. And that's Tony Stewart. He won. He's won on the big course. He won in the bull ring. He's won on the sprint dirt, and he's won on the quarter mile now. So he's the only driver to have a win at all 4 major tracks there at the complex, which is a pretty cool accomplishment. You know,
not a lot of people move between you know, circle track racing and NHRA. So yeah, that record's gonna be tough to beat.
Yep. So I mean, he had a win. That was really good. It's his first win in Top Fuel. So, you know, everybody's very excited for that. It was just absolutely the talk of the weekend. And he didn't lay down the fastest runs, but in qualifying, he took two of the wins on hole shots. And if we remember, the hole shot is he didn't make it to the finish line first, but his time put him number 1, because what they do is they take your reaction time and subtract it from your elapsed time, and that gives you the overall win. And he did that twice. He did that in the first round of qualifying, and then first round of eliminations, then the second round of eliminations before getting to the final. So 2 hole shot wins is, you know, a hole shot win is impressive right off the get-go, but to do 2 of them in the same weekend back to back is a pretty impressive feat. We also saw Austin Prock had a whole shot win as well, and he won in funny car. And then in pro stock, we had Dallas Green. He picked up a win this year, but Prock just in funny car, he's just kind of picking up where he left off last year as the champ. Looks like he's on the road. And then, if you remember, we talked about in Phoenix, there was a gentleman by the last name of Lee, Mr. Lee. He picked up his first win in Phoenix and also turned around and got a number 2 in Vegas. And so it's his second podium in under a month. And the guy's, he's 55. I think he's like 55 or 56. He's my age. He's been racing since he was in his 20s. So it was good for him to get those wins. And the really big news coming out of this weekend is the disappointment that the fans are showing with 4-wide. 4-wide racing, a lot of people are not pleased with the format. They want to see NHRA go back to the 2x2, or the side-by-side racing, instead of having 4 drivers going at it. A lot of the fans and it's pretty loud talk that they've lost the interest in the 4-wide. It was pretty cool. It was really neat when they first launched it, 5-6 years ago. But a lot of people are starting to feel that it's lost its luster.
So they feel like it was a gimmick that is kind of Let's get back to where it's like stage racing.
Yep.
It's a gimmick that's run its course.
Yep. And I think a lot of fans talking to reading stuff on the internet, they wouldn't mind so much if Vegas stayed 4-wide, but then NHRA moved that format over to Charlotte, race in Charlotte, and it's just it just seems the fans are just, it's too much because we had 4-wides this weekend in Vegas, and then the next race that we have this after Easter is 4-wides in Charlotte. Fans are just I think the fans are just let's keep it in Vegas for the spring race in Vegas and go back to side by side racing the rest of the year. And honestly, I'm kind of on board with that.
If you keep it just to one weekend, then it maintains its uniqueness. If you start doing it everywhere, then it's like, oh, this again.
Yeah. Yep. And I think I understand NHRA kind of wanted to spread the wealth a little bit with hey, our East Coast fans don't get a chance to really see 4x4 4-wide racing, so we're going to put it in Charlotte. But I think it's, like I said, the fans, I think, are just, it's too much. They'd rather just have it in Vegas one time a year for like the special, spring event, and then just leave it side by side for the rest of the year.
Because what they say, Lee, what happens in Vegas should stay in Vegas.
Yeah. Doesn't belong in North Carolina, that's for sure. So, so we'll see if NHRA listens. Hopefully they do, but fans have spoken before in a lot of other series, and the sanctioning body has just kind of said, nope, this is what we're going to do, and stuck with the program. So, we'll see next year when it comes out. But it was an exciting weekend all around. I personally like 4x4s, but I just don't want to see it 3 times a year. I want to see it once a year.
See it once, keep it as a
keep it in the spring race.
It loses its event status when so it's like having Christmas in July. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
Or some of the stores around here having spring Black Friday sales. I'm like, what the hell is a spring Black Friday?
Yeah.
It's quite self-explanatory, really, isn't it? It's a Black Friday sale in springtime.
Are we just going to have 4th of July on Christmas Eve now too?
But Black Friday isn't a date, is it? It's an event, and you can have that event whenever you want. It's not like 28th of November. You can only have one of those a year. The 4th of July, clues in the name there, Black Friday is one of 52.
Yep, I get you.
So, Let's not be judgmental against Fridays.
Let's not be judgmental against days that end in Y. That's how I see it.
There you go. There you go.
Careful, because Frank will have a quiz on the days of the week next time if we're not careful.
I would fail that one too, I'm sure.
All right, so
boy.
Lee, any other news coming out of NHRA this week, or should we go ahead and transition to talking about Formula One in Bahrain?
Tony Stewart and Leah Pruitt were super happy. They had Dominic up there with them in the winner's circle getting his Wally. So it was a good photo op. It was cute.
How old is Tony Stewart this day and age? He's got to be like close to 60, right?
He's in his early to mid 50s, I think. He's around my age.
He's around your age, yeah. Around our age.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
don't want to date myself. 71. So, but yeah, that's all. That's all we got. Like I said, 2 more weeks we'll be doing.
You were born in 71.
Yeah.
You're younger than me, you son of a bitch.
You're a lot better looking than I am.
I'm going to sit here and stay quiet. Don't worry.
No, Lee, with that beard trimmed up. You styling, my man. All right, so let's turn it over to our young friend. Talk about Oscar Piastri winning in Bahrain, and now he's only 3 points behind Lando in the championship. Lando, who should be the de facto number 1 driver at McLaren, McLaren's going to have to make a decision to either let these guys race one another or throw some team orders out and say, hey, we're backing you for the championship. You see that happening at all, Richard? Or because from what I see and what I gather, Piastri and Norris actually play nice together.
Yeah, I think they do, and I think they. Zach Brown's got he's got a pretty tight ship there. And the guys there, they're both pretty switched on. They know what's expected of them. They both know, what to do and what not to do. So I think that the team's going to be smart about it. Obviously, if you're the lead driver, you're going to want preferences. If you're the second driver, you're not. You're going to want to be allowed to compete. It's natural. But we're way, 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 way too early in the season for that, I think.
Right.
And, again, Zach Brown not only is the team principal of McLaren, but he's also a pretty good racer in his own right. So he has, to a certain extent, can put his, race team hat on and say, yeah, okay, guys, I know what you're going through. I know what you expect to if you want to compete, and I'm going to allow you guys to race and compete because again it's not that sort of hard-nosed mentality that he's got. He can share the frustrations that the drivers may have or the enthusiasm that the drivers may have for certain conditions. So I don't think we'll see any team orders there anytime soon. I think it's they're going to be allowed to race. But if Oscar comes out and has a good beats Lando in the next couple of races, then it's going to be starting to put pressure on Lando for sure because he'll go there expecting to win. He expects to win every week, and for that not to be happening, it's a pretty it's going to be a pretty tough pill to swallow if Oscar starts to stretch his legs a little bit. And if you think about it, if you take out of the equation that rain shower that came through Melbourne towards the end of the race that put Oscar back in the pack, he would be leading the championship reasonably comfortably by now. So
sure, yeah.
Long way to go, but I think they're gonna, let them boys race, as they say.
And then, Lando had he had a tough start to the race. He got the penalty not even before the first lap because he jumped the box.
Yeah, and
he had a foot slipped. Yeah, that wasn't necessarily his fault. He was a little bit unlucky there because I say, by looks of
Yeah.
things, his clutch slipped. So yeah.
He said after the race, he didn't think he was that far up in the box, and the clutch slipped, and I don't buy that personally. I mean, you're a professional race car driver; you should know where you're at in the box. But
it's difficult though because you can't see.
It's
you genuinely. If you look on the Formula One grid, they have this yellow line that sticks out that's a lot wider than the box, and it's actually a couple of feet back from the front of the box. And the idea is from the driver's peripheral perspective, that yellow line lines up with your front tire. Now, but still, it's not an easy thing to do, and there's no. We sit here and think, oh my God, you can't even park your car in the right place. God, my wife can, well, maybe not. But, anybody should be able to do that. But, it's not as easy as you think, unfortunately.
Well, yeah, in a Formula One car, you're really low to the ground.
Oh yeah, I mean you're sat on the floor.
Yeah, in a road car, you're up and you can kind of look down. But Formula One, you're
really just driving.
It's not as easy as. Yeah, it's not as easy as you'd think, but it's still not a great look for sure. And I mean, at the end of the day, thankfully the penalty didn't cost him anything, but it wasn't a great weekend for him. Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly. Not a great weekend for him.
No.
Yeah, he had some really good battles towards the end of the race with both Leclerc and
George Russell.
George Russell, he was coming right up on him. I think another 2 laps he might have had him. But
I must admit, to my money, George Russell's been the driver of the season so far. I think he's driven fantastically well. That was a prime example, I think, at Bahrain, where he went onto the soft tyres with 20, 25, 30 laps to go. And nursed that tyre through to the end of the race, which was incredible performance, really. Considering that most guys were really struggling on the mediums after, 5 laps or whatever it was. So for him to nurse those tyres through to the end of the race, top marks for him. Well done.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Red Bull for a little bit, because they seem to be in like full crisis mode after this race. I gotta say, I can't remember watching a Formula One race where Max Verstappen was mentioned so infrequently, because he just languishing around in 8th. I didn't hear his name mentioned through most of the race until he made a quick pass on the last lap to grab 6th.
It's not great, is it? They're not. Where you'd expect them to be. They're not where they would expect to be. And,
right.
I think that, it's just the evolution of the sport. We always see this, don't we? At some point you're going to,
your rivals will catch up to you.
Yeah, your rivals catch up and you miss the boat a little bit. And it's a long way back when you've been up there so often. You think you're unstoppable, you think you're unbeatable. You become used to winning. Winning isn't something that you strive for, it's winning something you expect, and that's always a dangerous position to be in. You become complacent, and when you don't win, it hurts. It stings, and whether that manifests itself as a little bit of arrogance or a little bit of however you want to look at it, it's not great either way for the teams and for the drivers. And hopefully for them to keep Max, because obviously from Red Bull's perspective, they want to keep Max as the driver, and nobody likes watching Max win 25 out of 26 races or whatever it is. But hey, if it can be competitive, the guy is without a doubt a fantastic driver, and we need to see him battling at the front, and you need to see a battle where you can actually, you can battle, because unfortunately, in Suzuka where he was competitive, it wasn't a battle. He was probably half a second to a quarter of a second a lap or 3/4 of a second lap slower than the McLarens, but due to the nature and the makeup of the course, he wasn't able to. They weren't able to pass him, so it didn't make a great, spectacle from the fans. But this weekend could be a little different. I still expect the McLarens to be competitive and dominant. But Max is pretty stout around Saudi Arabia, so we'll see what happens.
And like Red Bull, it's not. I don't think it's the drivers. There's just a gremlin running around that team right now. They had the issues on the pits on their first round of pit stops where the because they got the green and red light to signal when.
Oh, their green light packed in, didn't it?
Yeah,
so many.
Like for both drivers. For Yuki, he came in and he couldn't get the green light to trip, and there was a 1 or 2 second hang up there. Then Max is hot on his heels coming in right behind him. They think they got it figured out. Max pits and he can't get it to trip either, and so there's another 2 seconds. And I mean, like when you're talking, you lose a race, when positions are 2 to 3 seconds, at a time, that's
and
massive.
Formula One, some of their pit stops are 2 seconds total.
Yeah, you're doubling your pit stop by sitting there because you couldn't get your green light to trip. So I don't want to say it's all the drivers. I mean, I thought Yuki Tsunoda had a pretty decent day. Max was.
He did.
Max was just blah.
Yeah.
But I think that first round of pit stops there was things that were way out of their control, whether it was something in the Red Bull pit itself or something in at the with the track and the sensors that were beyond Red Bull's capabilities.
That didn't help him, did it?
It didn't help.
No, I mean, I think.
I can see where Max would get frustrated because these things are, these little things are piling up where the little things are piling up and he's getting frustrated. And I mean, if I was in his shoes too, I'd be pissed off.
Yeah, it's bound to happen. It's inevitable. But I think when you, again, it goes back to that point of expectation. Max gets this, he expects to win. And when things aren't going your way, that builds up frustrations. And when you're frustrated like that, these small things which, in the past wouldn't be an issue, start to become an issue. And the team starts to, I don't want to say panic, but or rush per se, but they put things out there that don't help, that don't, they make mistakes like that. The issue we saw with the pit box exit thing, little things that you would never have seen 2 or 3 years ago are starting to creep in because they're pushing the envelope and making mistakes.
Yep. And like you said, I mean, he's so used to dominating races by, winning by 20, 30 seconds. Now he's not even within 20, 30 seconds of the leader for most of the races. And that, he's young. He's just like, it reminds me a lot of Hamilton because Lewis was in the same boat for a long time.
When he went to Mercedes from McLaren, it was a very difficult time for him, and it's the maker of the challenges that come about when you are struggling, or arguably what make you the better driver and what hardens you as a driver. So when these opportunities do come along to compete and win and achieve what your car lets you achieve, then you've got to take advantage of those for sure.
Yep. And I thought Alpine had a decent weekend. They got a top 10, and Haas I thought had a really, really good weekend because both their drivers were in the top 10, and they're
they had a very,
sleeper
very good
teams.
weekend.
Like last year, Magnussen and Hulkenberg, you didn't even they were 26th and 24th on a good day.
Oh yeah,
and here they are. Because I mean, no offense, Ferrari has got a lot to do with that because of the motors, but I mean, Haas is 2 drivers in the top 10. That's a pretty good run right there, and Alpine.
Yeah, for them, because they've been struggling for a while.
Oh, for
I
years.
I did see a stat that at this point in the season, only 4 races in, every team on the grid has now scored points.
It's good.
Yeah.
Which is that's pretty impressive. I mean, that's, we've got a much more competitive field than we have in the past.
Yep.
And that's evidenced by the quality of racing we're seeing at the front. I mean, you don't have Max 38 seconds ahead of everybody else. But you've got Lando battling with Russell for second, and Piastri not that far ahead, and it's all really good stuff.
Yep. So,
I mean,
good season.
Yeah, it's the way it's all settling. The way it's all settling in. The teams that are probably the team that you look at in the least favorable light is Aston Martin. You'd expect a little bit more from them, but obviously they're in the middle of this transition phase. They've been very, very, very vocal that their priority and their aim is 2026 with the new regulations, with bringing Adrian Newey on board and the like. So, but even so, you still, you'd still expect them to be competing a little bit higher up the grid than they are right now. Alpine, I mean, Gasly qualified, fourth was it? Or, in the top 5, I think, for Bahrain.
He had a good run.
Sainz had a good qualifying session for Williams there. Struggled a little bit in the race. I think he ended up retiring.
Yeah, he didn't. He retired.
But as you say, every team is doing good, and you don't have that one sort of whipping boy that you've had in the past. And obviously Haas has been through quite some big changes in the last 18 months or so, with Gunter Steiner leaving. And everybody was quite critical at the time of Gene Haas about making that decision to let Gunter go and change the management structure. But it's starting to show that maybe it was the right decision to make.
Yeah.
And that's not a criticism of Gunter. It's sometimes you need a change. You need a new outlook on life. People aren't committed and aren't going that extra 5% for him, because it becomes stale and old, and that's just human nature. It's a humanistic thing. So you've got to you look at it to that extent and say they've done a good job. Obviously, Williams are still in this rebuilding phase. They've scored more points this year than they did in the entirety of last year.
Yeah.
With two, I must admit, Carlos Sainz hasn't had the best start to his career there, but I still think it's beneficial because he's pushing Alex Albon harder than I think he's been pushed since he went to Williams. So it's certainly not a negative situation. And again, and also for Sauber, it was great to see them get points with Hulkenberg. I mean, Hulkenberg ended up being disqualified, I think, from the race because of a skid block issue. But they've picked up points here and there. So I think everybody. This is what you want to see throughout the field. Is races where anybody can compete and anybody can battle for points and anybody can keep keep themselves in the mix. It's really, really good to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for the day we have a surprise winner. Like every now and
it's been a while, hasn't it?
Yeah. Every now and again you get somebody pop up there. Like Gasly won that race, or the old Force India won a race.
Yeah.
So
Perez won one, didn't they? Yeah. Yeah.
I just have a feeling there's going to be one like that this year. So, or somebody's going to come up, and who knows? It could be the Racing Bulls. Who knows?
Yeah.
Probably not Liam Lawson, because his stock continues to plummet.
It's not great right now, is it? No, it's you get Saudi Arabia out of the way, have a break, have a chance to take stock, regroup, and then really push on for the remainder of the season. And I mean, goodness me, would we have ever thought that following on from that first race of the season, we'd be praising the performance of Hadjar in the way that we are. I think he's been
absolutely
outstanding for the second. These last 2 or 3 races, he's been outstanding. And
that kid's pretty good.
After the criticism and the really unfortunate scenes we saw in Melbourne, and some of the comments from some of the senior Red Bull management, certainly wouldn't help. But he's stepped up and he's really performed these last few races. So fair play to the kid. Very impressive.
Yep.
All right. So we've got to transition over and talk about NASCAR at Bristol. But before we do,
we don't have to.
Because there's
we do.
There's a significant news story in there other than the race, so that I do want to touch on. But Lee, so where are we off to next? Saudi Arabia. Lee, who do you like for Saudi Arabia?
I'm gonna go Lando Norris.
All right, and Richard?
Piastri,
yep. Predictable.
Clarence.
I'm going to say that Mercedes breaks out and George Russell wins this one.
Be a good shout, yeah.
Yep,
doable.
Good.
Yep. So let's turn our attention to NASCAR in Bristol and some unfortunate news heading into the race weekend. John Edwards, who was the director of race communication at Hendricks, well-known, well-liked in the paddock. He was like Jeff Gordon's right-hand man for a while, and worked closely with that. He's been working closely with Kyle Larson lately, as the director of communications. He died quite unexpectedly at the age of 53. Diabetes-related complications, from what I understand. But everybody in the NASCAR world is really shook up by this because number one, he was very well liked, vibrant guy from. I've never met the man, but I know I was talking to our good friend Louise, who's I think he's in witness protection these days, but he's had an opportunity to talk and interact with John Edwards, and he was just very deeply saddened by the passing of this guy. So John Edwards, 53 years old. Gone but not forgotten. Our thoughts are with his friends, his family, and his folks that worked with him and knew him. So, but very sad news.
Yep.
Race day at Bristol. I don't even know where to start with this one because there's not a lot good to say about a one-lane train Bristol race with very few cautions and green flag runs as much as 200 plus laps.
Yep.
I mean, it's a good recipe for a nap, on
a rainy day.
On a rainy day, yeah. And you've got Kyle Larson out there just dominating the whole place, and that place looked less than half full.
Yep.
I don't know. It's like Bristol used to be the hottest ticket to get. It used to be the most fun race to watch, but they have managed to destroy that facility. Trucking in dirt for the last couple of years didn't do anything to revive it.
Football and baseball games they got going on in there, just I don't understand it.
Well, people show up for those.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sad because I remember Bristol races in the 90s, and I would just look forward to them. Yeah. And I was living in Virginia. I didn't live too far from Bristol, about a 2-hour drive, but I could never get my hands on a ticket.
Nope.
That thing was sold out, and then they'd add more seats, and it would still sell out. Then eventually, that thing has like 180,000 seats now, right? Or something stupid like that. And now, heck, I could easily go to Bristol, but the quality of the racing we're getting, So Lee, you didn't watch much of it, did you? Richard, you watched some of it?
I caught bits of it. I mean, I think I think what we saw this year was a reaction to what we saw in the spring race last year, where we had the tires delaminating and cord.
Oh yeah,
after
that was a
50
mess.
laps on a run. So they obviously went for the PJ1 compound rather than the other traction compound that they've used in the past. And I think it just, it was almost like it went too far. But they didn't have a choice. They had to do something. And as I said, I think we became victim of the failures we saw there, and they Goodyear got scared a little bit and made sure we didn't have a repeat of that. And we didn't.
Yeah.
But it could be. I mean, we haven't gotten through the rest of the season yet, but it could. I mean, it legitimately could be the worst race of the season because it was horrible.
And the sad thing is, like, Martinsville wasn't much better.
Yeah.
And it's like
Toyota won Martinsville, so it wasn't that bad.
But the quality race is not the quality race is not what you're used to on the short track. It's like it's almost like if they don't change something, it's going to be the end of short track racing in NASCAR. And even if you talk about
NASCAR are very NASCAR are very apparent to that. They understand it. They get what's at stake with finding a short track package. And the problem is it's like the whole gamekeeper and poacher scenario. Everybody wants exciting races and entertaining races. Of course they do. But there's one group of people that don't want exciting races, and that's the teams. The teams want to go out and make very predictable, very boring races.
Right.
Because it doesn't cost them a lot of money.
Yeah. So what happens is they'll go out, NASCAR will go out and say, right, we're going to do ABC to the car. The teams go, oh my God, all right. Yeah, okay. So the teams then spend hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars to understand that package and make the car more competitive with that package. And then, oh, look, we're back to where we were 2 years ago because now everything's professional racing again. So they're almost like it's a very, very difficult thing to maintain, that advantage because it just, it keeps self-perpetuating motion almost.
Yeah, but at the same time, they've managed to improve the quality of racing at places like Atlanta and even Daytona to a certain extent.
Well, Atlanta was changed by the track, not the package.
Right. Well, yeah,
right.
I'm not. Yeah, but Atlanta it's a pretty entertaining race, and
for sure.
And I find the Cup road races to be more entertaining than they have been in the recent past.
Yep.
Back in the 90s, they were entertaining because nobody knew what they were doing. And now they're entertaining because we get to see a really good race.
Yeah.
Well, gosh, the first year they raced in Chicago, I was convinced that was going to be a snoozer, but that was such a good race.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
I think Goodyear. I don't want to point fingers at this weekend, but they put that compound down as the Band-Aid for the tire situation, and that was not the right call. That was not what was supposed to, in my mind. Goodyear should have been held much more accountable for producing a tire that could last. I mean, we've been racing at Bristol for a gajillion years. You'd think that Goodyear would create a compound that could withstand. I mean, Bristol's no worse than Darlington. Darlington's probably the most abrasive track that is out there. And
Dover's the other concrete track.
Concrete track. And I'm going to put this squarely on Goodyear's shoulders because they failed. They didn't bring the right tire compound. So what we do? We just sprayed, 9 feet up the track with this sticky crap and one-lane racing for 500 laps, which only took 2.5 minutes because it's Bristol. But I think Goodyear just dropped the ball on this one. I think I'm not necessarily blaming NASCAR, but I'm blaming Goodyear on this one. Sorry, Richard.
Oh, I mean, I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't know,
Richard doesn't work for Goodyear.
I know, but he's like the tire guy. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's as I say, Goodyear reacted to what we saw last year, and outside of developing a new tire structure and compound, this was the safest bet for them and the cheapest thing, for them to do. They could run the same tire that they ran last year, but with minimal chances of it failing. And
you hit the nail on the head right there when he said this was the cheapest thing to do.
Yep. And I don't think
that's the problem. That's the problem.
But when you consider, what's a Cup tire cost?
I don't know. I haven't bought one.
$1,500 a whack, I think.
Well, it's about $2,000 a set, probably. And if you think about, each team has 10 sets for the weekend, 40 teams, there's a lot of tires there.
Yeah.
And to, go there and build a compound or a structure that, you're not confident with, it's a bit of a lottery for sure.
But they've had a whole year to figure this out. It's not like this.
But you can't really figure it out without going testing there. And
sure, I get that.
You're limited, testing's expensive. You're limited with how much testing you can do, and then, even then you don't get it perfect. So I think Goodyear have been in a difficult situation. As we say, this was the cheapest thing for them to do in the shortest period of time, and I know we're not testing there this year, so I doubt we're going to see any changes for next year either, especially for the spring race. So we'll see what happens.
It's
not great. It's not great. It's not great. It's not great.
It's not.
All right. So listen, fellas, the orchestra is playing, which means wrap it up. Because we are in overtime now. So and that was our green white checker finishing up NASCAR. NASCAR off for Easter weekend. I hope that all you folks that tuned in, if you celebrate Easter, hope you have a great weekend. Again, next week, Heather the Heat Hadley, that's her nickname, will be joining us on the program. She's a driver in the...
I'm glad you pointed out it was a nickname, because I thought that was her real name for a minute then.
Well, Stingray Rob, that's his real name.
I know.
But Heather Hadley will be joining us next week, star of first to the finish driver in the Mazda MX-5 Cup. I do want to thank Mazda and Amazon for allowing us to run their trailer. I want to thank EA Sports, Warner Brothers, Formula One movie coming up. I want to thank YouTube, Spotify, Facebook Live. But most importantly, I want to thank our fine producer, Keith Hayes, because he's an amazing dude.
The Sinister One.
Sinister One. Sinister One Productions. And all right, we'll be back in a week. I really want to thank you folks.
I think we also need to we need to give praise to Lee's barber, because he must have had to have a couple of days off after that.
Who?
Lee's barber.
I will tell you who my barber is.
All right. Also, thanks to Track Day for Veterans. Their Sherathon is coming up. I'm missing something. So I know it's not Louise, because we stopped thanking him until he gets out of witness protection. So Louise, if you're watching,
where the hell are you, son?
Yeah. I have to put your picture on the side of a milk carton. So, all right, I'm just getting silly now. But anyway, thanks to you folks that tuned in tonight. And please tune in next week. We're going to have a really fun show with Heather Hadley, star of the Amazon program, First to the Finish. Till then, good night, everybody.
Thanks for watching Drafting the Circuits. Make sure to follow Drafting the Circuits on Facebook, Spotify, Twitter, and YouTube. Drafting the Circuits is a Sinister One production.